This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corporate Law, a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit them at walkercorporatelaw.com. And Braintree. You want to turn your brilliant idea into a great product that people can't wait to buy. So start thinking about how you'll accept payments. To learn more about how Braintree can help, visit braintreepayments.com/twist.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and this is the show where we talk about entrepreneurship, startups, technology, and just generally creating things in the world that move humanity forward just a little bit. Sorry for the raspy voice. I was at Burning Man for the last 3 or 4 days, which is the annual desert art festival, kind of turning into an EDM festival these days, to be honest. I went 10 years ago and it was 15,000 people, and they told me, Jason, don't go to Burning Man. It is absolutely sold out. It's too large. It's 15,000 people there. It's lost its soul. And then here I am going 10 years later, and there's 75,000 people I heard. And it's a fantastic event. Still fantastic. Still amazing art, amazing music, amazing people. And unlike almost any other experience you have when there's a large number of people, the amount of empathy and caring for each other in a barter-based economy, you can't spend money there, is phenomenal. People walk around. I was driving my bicycle across the playa, and I hear the word ice cream. I look over. Somebody's giving out ice cream cones. I stop. I eat a huckleberry ice cream cone in the 100-degree desert with my friends. And all of a sudden, there's a line of 30 or 40 people. And it really gives you a look at what society could be like if we tried different systems. It's a truly innovative event, an innovative project. People living together for a week. No cash changes hands. Everybody gets fed. And you have this radical self-reliance. You're in the desert. You have to bring in everything and you can leave nothing. It's absolutely fantastic event. If you've never gone, I highly recommend experiencing it in your life, going for 3 or 4 days, and you will have a wonderful time. It's hard, but that's, I think, one of the things that makes it interesting is that it's so hard to get there. It's so hard to be there and to experience it. You have to deal with such an amazingly hot, dry, dirty desert where there's windstorms and literally everybody's wearing ski masks, I kid you not, and respirators, like you were painting or doing surgery, because the dust storms kick up and you literally can see nothing. It's a real peak experience. It's something that I think everybody should experience. And I think it speaks to the innovative nature of San Francisco and the Bay Area that people actually do this. A lot of kids there too experiencing it, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. But my voice is shot, not from screaming, but just from being in the desert. It's so dry. My skin is cracking. But had a wonderful time, saw all my friends, and really, with the exception of flying in on a tiny little plane that I talked to the pilot. The last time they used this plane was in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, I think. It's literally that plane. It literally looked like that plane. And it is bouncing up and down, Noah, like you would not believe as we were flying in. And then we're flying out, and the woman who was the pilot looked like a baby, and she was 26 years old, 25 or 26 years old. She's been flying planes for 2 years. So you almost lost your host to all the super fans. I think I'm going to, flying in was kind of cool. You've landed in the desert, but I think I'm driving in next year.
Do you ball out? Are you in one of like the houses and RVs that's like a super RV?
That's it. Okay, so
like
anyway,
you have like a butler.
Let me welcome my guest, Noah Kagan. Noah Kagan is a serial entrepreneur, yes. It's great to have you here. We've known of each other and traded emails for years. So the issue you're bringing up, Noah, is the issue of the luxury camps. There are pop-up camps. There was one called White Ocean, which some people refer to as White Brocean, like a bro thing. And there is a little bit of the EDM people taking over. So like letting your freak flag fly and people being naked or having public sex, all those things, which, 10 years ago I saw a lot more of, even though it was smaller. It was a lot more freewheeling, to be honest, a little more hippie. A little more experimental. There were a lot of bros. You saw a lot of planes coming in from LA and Phoenix and Texas, whatever, and people coming off who were first times. They were Burning Man virgins. They would go ring the bell and get down in the dirt and do a dirt angel is kind of the
Is that what you
tradition.
did for the first time?
Yeah, if you're there for the first time, they
that's
make you get
cool.
down in the dirt, and you basically do, instead of a snow angel where you move your
dirt
arms
angel.
up and down and put an impression of an angel, you make a dirt angel in the dirt of the desert sand. So I saw a lot of people doing that as we got off the planes, and it was a little bit broy, but really something horrible happened, but also worth discussion, which was the people at White Ocean, which is a dance camp,
Okay.
had their camp vandalized brutally.
At Burning Man?
At Burning Man.
Oh, shit.
They crazy glued the doors. They cut the electrical cables. They stole stuff, and they released the most precious thing, their 300 or 400 gallons of water, into the middle of their camp, which of course dried up immediately. But losing your water is kind of a
wow.
bummer. Although you can get a truck to come, and it turns out the camp is run by a very famous DJ, I can't remember his name, and a Russian billionaire's son. And so the idea is this radical inclusion here. Everybody's in it together, Noah. And what some of these camps are doing is they've created closed camps where people are working for money and getting, $200 a day to work in the camp as, bartenders, concierges, chefs, whatever, and to set them up. And so that goes against the radical self-reliance and the radical inclusion, which is this ethos of the event, which is somebody else got you there. You flew in, you came for 2 days, you partied, you didn't set up your tent, you just popped into a trailer.
No investment. Yeah.
No investment. And so if it gets easier to come there, then, kind of the people who don't really value it come. And that reason why nobody pushes each other, you never see a fight, you never see an argument, and you see lots of love and people caring for each other and giving each other whatever they have. It's not uncommon for somebody to take out a water bottle and, or two and just hand them out to other people.
Totally.
In the desert where water is the most precious commodity. There's no financial transactions. So they trash these guys' camp, but when you peel back the onion, I'm not saying I agree with what they did. Obviously, I'm not. The issue was those people ran a closed camp, which is to say they didn't let other people into their camp. Kind of like a door policy. And I saw one or two other camps run by billionaire type people, very affluent people. And one of them had put all their trailers together in a way that you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And so somebody was like, hey, come by our camp. I went by the camp and I would have had to crawl underneath a trailer to kind of get
bouncer?
in.
Is there a bouncer?
Well, there was no bouncer that I could see, but I just thought, you know what? It's so douchey, to make your camp inaccessible.
Yeah.
That I was like, you know what? I'm not going to even go visit you because I do think you're against the ethos of the burn.
But I think the one thing I'm trying to understand is it's the same as cities, right? So like in Austin, right? It's like your favorite artist. Everyone starts listening to him and you're like, I hate Dashboard Confessional. That's my guy. I don't know if you remember Dashboard Confessional, but I loved him. And then everyone liked him and screened his songs. And then I'm like, I'm not as emo anymore. I don't like him. And it's the same with Austin. And I think it's the same with business where what do you do as something becomes popular and it starts evolving?
Yeah.
Right. And it's with Austin where I live. It's like a lot of people have moved there. It's got more expensive. Now the buildings have less character. All the weird naked stuff that we have just in a normal day has kind of gone away to like people from the Bay Area like myself coming and, we're a little bit more yuppie or maybe bro-y.
Yeah.
And same with Burning Man. It's like, where's the balance of something growing and evolving and how do you, and even with the business, how do you iterate and
so the
evolve
way the self-correcting mechanism is if you do something that's against the core tenets of self-reliance and inclusion, you get your camp trashed. So I don't agree with them doing it, but I understand why people who've gone to 10 or 20 Burning Mans look at this and say, this is the end of Burning Man. We need to correct this and course correct. And so the fact that they didn't let other people into their camp, didn't share their food, didn't share their alcohol, I don't mind them putting on a big stage and having 20.
But let everyone in.
Well, they did let everybody into their music at White Ocean. They had 20 musical acts for free. Anybody could come. It was awesome. You just walk up to the stage. It was great. And I think they did give out some food or whatever, but their internal camp, the Russian billionaire apparently pays for all the DJs, puts them all up, which is nice of him to do, but it makes it, they're not radically self-reliant.
Interesting.
So now you have this whole contingent of people, maybe it's 10% of the people there, 20% of the people there, who are kind of have it a lot easier than the other people, which then makes you think that they're not going to act in a way with empathy and grace and value it, right?
Well, I was also thinking how amazing it is for someone like yourself who's well-known and you do have money, and like someone's giving you a free ice cream, and it could be someone that's just like an average person from somewhere else. And I was like, wow, what an interesting balance of like
my
all
camp,
these people coming together.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what's kind of unique about it is everybody's kind of leveled, and you would never know it was me there anyway because I wear a mask and I wear goggles. Like nobody's knowing it's me anyway, which is kind of nice to be anonymous.
Yeah.
I mean, I did when I ran into a couple of friends, and very high profile people. I took my mask off, took my goggles off, whatever.
Why do you think there's such an appeal from SF? Why do all the SF techies leave and want to be like doing drugs or not drugs, but like have this kind of like non-recognized or like equal society in the desert? Is it like there's so much money and like ego here, and that's a chance for it to be like anonymous? Or what do you think it is?
It appeals on many different levels, is my feeling about Burning Man. Number one, it's an art festival, so there's just tremendous art there. So if you like art, you have to go. Okay. If you're the type of person who likes new art or interesting conceptual art or installation art, I mean, it's just phenomenal. The work they put into stuff is just tremendous. We talk about weeks and weeks, months and months, years and years of work to build things. So the creativity is amazing. Then I think some people are there to expand their consciousness, which is fine, and then other people are there for the music and to dance.
I was saying drugs.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not judgmental about these things.
Yeah.
If you want to expand your consciousness, I think that there's probably the drugs that are being taken there are a lot less damaging in some ways than the drugs that are being given to people by psychiatrists and the alcohol that's being consumed. Like if you were to make a list of how damaging things were,
Totally.
you would have alcohol right up top there with heroin and other drugs. And so these people are on drugs that are more psychedelics. So people want to expand their consciousness. People want to dance. People want to see the art. But then there's a community aspect. And then I think people are longing, Noah, for a reflection time, a period where they can unplug, not have internet, be creative, be themselves, let their freak flag fly, and then maybe consider their future. I know I did that. I was out there thinking like, wow, what do I want to do in the next year? And so now I'm announcing it's the end of This Week in Startups. It's the end of the launch festival. I'm shutting everything down, and I'm going to be a priest. I'm going to be a monk. This is it. You guys are here.
Wow, you heard it first.
I saw God in the desert, and now I'm going to
it's a
be
woman.
a monk.
It's a woman, isn't it?
Yeah, I met her.
Okay.
She's awesome. Anyway, it's pretty interesting in that way, I think, because you can reflect. And, there's a temple there, which was one of the most moving experiences I've ever had in my life, I'll be honest. And at the temple, everybody brings pictures or memorabilia that they want to be burned with the temple, which burns on Sunday. Everybody knows the Burning Man on Saturday, but the Sunday, the temple's burned. And everybody brings stuff to be burned. And what they burn is, I saw a bunch of dog collars. I saw photos of 25-year-olds and 75-year-olds. People go and write the names of loved ones who passed, and they go there and they're meditating. So I did a little meditation there. And they were using a gong. Another person was playing piano. But it's a sacred space, this temple. And actually, somebody came up to me, started talking to me, recognized me, and she was talking to me, and she was talking a little loud. Somebody came over and said, hey, this is a sacred space. You can take your conversation outside of it. And people were crying, and it actually very much reminded me of 9/11 when people put up all those posters of people that were missing in New York. It was very disturbing to look at the amount of humanity that was lost. And here you see the amount of humanity lost and hundreds of people around the temple crying, hugging each other, praying, meditating, doing whatever they want to sort of resolve issues in their life.
Yeah.
It was very moving. And so I think there's a lot there. I highly recommend it. I think, one of the big tests I have is like, would I bring my kids and would I want my daughters to go? And absolutely, I would want them to go and experience it at some point in their life for sure. So anyway, welcome to This Week in Burning Man. My guest has Noah Kagan, who has never been to Burning Man.
Nice.
And we've wasted all his time on this. But suffice it to say, a little 10-minute ramble on Burning Man. If you haven't gone, it's fantastic. I don't agree with what happened to White Ocean, but I also don't agree that people should have these mega camps that are not open. So my camp was very open. I don't want to talk about the camp or anything like that because there's other people's privacy, but the camp was very open. We had dinner for everybody. We gave away tons of food. And I think next year I'm going to definitely go. And I want to do my own installation next year, actually.
Nice.
And I was very moved by the ice cream idea. It's a nice juxtaposition, but they just had like a pint of ice. They had like a 5-gallon drum of ice cream. So I think next year I'm going to do an actually ice cream parlor.
Nice.
That's my Burning Man project.
What's your flavor?
What's my favorite flavor of ice cream? I'm like a multi-flavor guy. I go through a coffee phase. I went through a butter pecan phase.
Butter pecan it's got to have the pecans, like
of
good
course.
chunks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like honey vanilla. When we get back, we're going to talk to Noah Kagan about the Sumo Group, AppSumo, and famously being employee number 30 at Facebook, getting fired, and losing hundreds of millions of dollars in shares when we get back on This Week in Startups. let me just take a quick moment to tell all the startups listening that Scott Walker is an amazing attorney. I know because a lot of my incubator companies and investments use Scott Walker, and we just had a discussion about law firms on our discussion, our secret discussion group, and people were talking about how much they love working with Scott Walker and the Walker Corporate Law Firm. They're a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs and startups, and they encourage fixed fees. They believe billable hours reward inefficiency, and they just love to tell you this is what it's going to cost. How refreshing is that as an entrepreneur to not have that sticker shock, to not have that fear of opening up the PDF from your law firm and getting that ridiculous surprise that they went 3 times over. You're not going to have that happen with the Walker Corporate Law Group because they do fixed fees, and all their lawyers have a decade or 2 of experience. No junior associates who are getting on-the-job training with your startup. They do mergers and acquisitions, licensing arrangements, terms of service, privacy policies, and they just love working with startups. The founder, Scott Ed Walker, is a total mensch and just a lover of startups. I've known him for a long time. He comes to all my events, and he's indefatigable in his support of founders. You can give him a call right now, 415-979-9998. 415 is San Francisco, 979-9998, 979-9998, or email Scott at Walker Corporate Law, Scott at WalkerCorporateLaw.com, or visit WalkerCorporateLaw.com. And you can follow Scott Ed Walker on the Twitter, at Scott Ed Walker. And everybody go ahead and thank at Scott Ed Walker on Twitter if you're a super fan, because he has been, I think he's the longest running partner of the show. So thanks again to Scott Walker for representing my companies and doing a great job at it. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and today my guest is Noah Kagan. He's infamous, if not famous, here in Silicon Valley. He worked at a number of companies you've heard of, Mint.com. He was the director of marketing there, which won the first conference I did, not the first conference, but the first conference I did in the launch series, TechCrunch 50, when I was partners with Mike Garrington. He was famously employee number 30 at Facebook, and that's probably the story for the ages that we'll get into right away. And now he is running the SumoMe group, which includes SumoMe, AppSumo, King Sumo, and we'll get into that. But you're essentially an expert, I think, on marketing, and that's what we wanted to talk about. But let's go straight to the Facebook thing, since it's the most painful and interesting. Yeah. You were employee number 30 at Facebook. You were at Facebook. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were at Facebook, Noah, before it was open to the public, when it was only EDU addresses. Is that true?
College and high school. So
only college and high school.
We opened high school when I was there, and that was a big deal. And then I think it was like 6 to 9 months afterward, they did open public. Or maybe
how did you meet Zuckerberg, and how did you wind up being employee number 30 at Facebook?
Yeah, I was an RA in the dorms. I was big on Friendster. I mean, I'm sure you remember Friendster and some of these kind of things with Jonathan. And then my residents were like, hey, get on Facebook. Let's be friends. I'm like, dude, I don't need another social thing. Sure, I'll try it out. And then I ended up after college working at Intel, and I was in Santa Clara living at my mom's house.
You were in Hell? You said in Hell?
I was. And, I appreciate that they gave me the job. Yeah. I really do.
Do they really call it in Hell? I've never heard that.
It's just it's where you go when you don't have ambition.
Wow.
Did I just say that out loud? No, I mean, actually, I met a lot of great people there, and I still have some good friends from there. But it's just probably like 50,000 people too many. And a lot of the things that like I did on Excel, I was like, I don't know why you guys don't just replace me with an algorithm online, and you don't really need me and the rest of the people here.
Got it.
And actually, that's what I did at the company. What I did there was that they gave me Excel to do supply chain optimization. I created a macro. I hit the macro on Tuesday. It finished, and then the rest of the week I just went to meetings and didn't do anything.
Wow.
And it's kind of one of these things in a big company where sometimes I'm like, why do big companies have so many people?
Yeah.
And I guess partly is you need more people to run a big company, but I'm like, I think there's just a bunch of waste. So I was at Intel, and I spent a lot of time on side projects. So I think anyone in a job, like you have your own VC. I had my VC. It was Intel, Intel Capital. And I did appreciate them giving me the job. I don't want to ever knock that and them believing in me and hiring me. And so while I was there, I created a bunch of different businesses. So I had like a student discount card called Ninja Card. I had like collegeup.org, which is Craigslist for college students. I did a bunch of different like college-based businesses. And I was going to quit and just start running a company, or try to run a company, because I was living at home, so I didn't have really many expenses. And I just sent in my resume to Facebook. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any connections. And I was going to quit anyways, and that was probably the only job I would consider. And I got a call back the next day from this lady named Dana, the recruiter, and she was like, hey, let's chat. I was like, that's kind of
And your
cool.
qualifications at that time were you were kind of a growth hacker before there was a growth hacker, or a jack of all trades, or were you a developer? How do you get the gig?
I did some
What
coding.
did they hire you for?
They hired me for product management, which I really don't know what that means still. I'm still trying to figure that one out. What does a product manager do? And I'm learning it.
Right.
But at that time, I'm a great starter. So I think the two things that I'm exceptional at and I've done well at is like I can start things really well and I can promote things that I love really well.
Got it.
So like Mint.com has done well, and AppSumo, and now SumoMe, and other things that I've enjoyed. And now SumoMe is actually tools to promote yourself. That's why we created it.
Right.
And so at Facebook, I was just like, look, I already make a lot of college-related products. I already build a lot of web businesses. Like I've created a book exchange. They're like, well, come in and just help us build our products. So I came in and showed like, here's how you guys are doing the site. Here are different features that you guys need to be building, and I mocked them up for them. So as a tip for job interviews, like come in showing the value you're going to be creating. And then I interview.
So instead of coming in just passively and saying, hey, do you have any questions for me? Or just waiting for them to ask questions, you came in and said, here are some things I think the site needs. And those included what?
I think at the time it was like, because I was doing college Craigslist, I was like, you guys should have a marketplace of some sorts. A lot of it was tailored to college students. So I think the marketplace was one. Local business listings was something that we were starting to talk about.
Interesting.
And I basically came in with mock-up. So I actually drew it out and like designed it and was like, here are the things that I think you guys should be building for your site.
And did you meet Zuckerberg on the first interview or second interview?
No,
or
so it was phone call, in person, and then the third time was with Dustin Moskovitz, Asana founder, Matt Kohler, who's now Benchmark, and my boss, Doug Hirsch, who got fired the first day I started. And Doug has a company called GoodRx, which has done really well. I think those are the people I met and I got hired from.
So you spent approximately 9 months there or something?
Yeah, about a pregnancy.
About a pregnancy. And they gave you a job offer of $60,000 and 10 basis points.
0.1%.
0.1%, 10 bips, 1/10 of 1%. Yeah, they call it bips in the business, right?
Okay.
So you have a tenth of 1%.
0.1%, yeah.
0.1%. Facebook's worth what now?
I don't know,
300 billion?
Yeah.
So 1% is $3 billion?
Yeah.
And 10 basis points is $300 million.
Divided by 5 plus 2. Yeah. Round up.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So $60,000 and 10 basis points, 1/10, or 1/20 and 65,000.
Yeah.
Which did you take?
Oh, I was like, give me more equity as possible. They actually gave, did I tell you that or did you find that out? So they actually gave me the offer. They're like, do you want more cash or do you want more equity? And I was like, give me as much equity as I can possibly have.
So they give you 10 basis points.
Yeah.
Which would have been worth $300 million.
Give or take. Assuming there's not dilution and I would have been re-upped and things like that over time.
Let's say you get diluted half. It would be $150 million.
Yes.
In today's market value. And what happens? You go in there.
Yeah.
You're 23, 24?
24, 25, yeah.
24 years old. You've been given the greatest opportunity of your life. And what happens?
Well, here, a few things.
Okay.
This is Facebook at a time where like it was still a college social network where no one would have ever, like I expected to be big and be successful to the level it's become. I don't think anyone would have bet on. And very few people did at the time.
Right.
In retrospect, it's like, oh, obviously now.
But you had been on Friendster. And Friendster was crashing at that time.
It was
super slow.
But also the monetization of a business that's going to be generating that much and it's going to be competing with Google.
Like I didn't believe it would ever get to
the size
100. I didn't think it would ever be $100 billion business. I thought it could be a couple $1 billion business, but I laughed at the concept of being $100 billion because I didn't think advertising would ever work.
I think the point that most people miss, and this is something I never hear about, and I actually think about it pretty regularly because it's something I'm trying to understand, like what am I really good at? I don't think people have recognized how patient Mark is and how many consistent good choices he's had to make in 15 years.
Right.
I think people kind of like, oh yeah, Mark's like this kid genius and he is very bright.
Well, I mean, I don't know about genius. I mean, I think
he's exceptionally smart. Like I've worked for Bill Gates, like I was at Microsoft and I met him.
Yeah.
Like they're both at the weirdo level. Like they have this like genius weirdo vibe that like they're just different. They're differently thinking than most.
Is he a genius or is he just a phenomenal executor? Because
I don't think
people I talk to say Mark is not like going to invent something amazing, but he has just a preternatural ability to focus and build product and stay focused.
He was exceptional. I mean, I was there for a short period of time.
Maybe that's genius too, I guess, if you can stay focused on building product.
I've seen literally like we have a we have a monthly 1K.com product where it helps people start businesses, and I've started many businesses and I've promoted them and they've done well.
Yeah.
And
we're going to get to all that.
Yeah,
and I just want to get through this Facebook.
I think there's a lot of stuff that your audience would appreciate and learn from that. I just haven't really met few people like Mark in my lifetime. The other thing I would subsequently say, so number one, I think what most people don't recognize is that most people want the success in a year. Mark was always like, there's not a time frame, and he has to consistently keep making good decisions. Like, how easy was it for him to miss on Instagram or miss on WhatsApp or not really double down on mobile like they did, and then kind of just accept that we're going to be a social network, which at the time there was like 5 or 10 other college social networks, which people kind of now like don't think about.
Right.
Well,
you had Tribe.net, which was Mark Pincus's, which was Burning Man based, sort of. And that kind of was Tribe.
There's a few other ones.
There was LinkedIn, obviously, and then there was another one, Spoke.
Yeah, Spoke, Zing. I mean, I think the other thing that Mark did, which I haven't seen until my company now, is that like I've never been around that many impressive people.
He collected people.
Here's the thing.
Great leader.
One, the smart thing that he did, because he had a college social network, he was like, oh, you're at MIT, Harvard, Stanford. I know all of you. I can target you.
Right.
And I think people always say work with smart people. You're the average of 5 people, but then you still have shitty friends. So how do you know they're really good? Is that you're like consistently feeling uncomfortable. And like I consistently there was like, wow, I am really uncomfortable here, and I'm like really having to push myself to be a better person and to stay on the level of these other people. But Mark brought around people that like to this day I'm just like, holy shit, like those people now are Asana running, you got Sean Parker running, you got like Noah Kagan running.
Yeah. So what was it? What did you do that got you fired?
Yeah.
And what was when you look back on it, why couldn't you keep it together to get to your cliff?
Keep it together. Keep it together. It's so a few things.
I mean, is that fair characterization or
no? So a few things. One.
I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, no, I mean, whenever you get let go, and now that I run a company and I love the people at Sumo Group, letting someone go is a very challenging thing, and that's something they never forget for the rest of their life.
It burns into your psyche. Like I was only fired once in my life, but it really does. It does fuck with you.
It totally fucks with you, man.
Yeah.
So a few different things. So number one, I actually, after I got let go, they make you try to sign something like saying you're not going to sue the company.
Right.
And so I was like, I'd prefer not to sign that. I like my equity because I've, in the 1 year that I have worked almost, I've put in like, I don't know, 4 years of life. I think internet life is like dog years.
Yeah.
For every year of internet work, it's like 5 to 10 years of like normal human life because you're fucking working a lot.
Right.
And so I fought for it and I asked for it and they're like, no. And I kind of think part of me also felt like, well, I didn't really earn it if I wasn't there for a year. Right. So I kind of accepted it after I asked for it. I was like, hey, give me some. And Owen Van Natta, who went on to run Amazon and other things, they said no. And I was like, or Zynga, he did. And I was like, okay. And then so I was in a depressed state for, I don't know, 9 to 12 months. So in terms of things I think I could have done incorrect, things I would work on or improve if I had to go back and tell myself advice. Number one, I actually got a raise there and promoted. Not like a title promotion, but they're like, you're doing a good job. Here's more money.
Right.
You're actually doing very well.
So you were doing something right there.
I was doing something right. I think the things that in retrospect, our minds rationalize and protect ourselves to create a story that makes it sound like, oh, this is why it happened, or this is my story that I repeat. So one of the reasons I got fired is Coachella.
The famous Coachella story.
The Coachella story where I told Mike Arrington, like, hey, we're coming out with some feature. I think you should write about it because we're not promoting ourselves at all. Mike wrote about it early. They didn't like that I wrote that I told about it.
What was the feature?
I don't even remember at this point. It was
wasn't it that you guys were going to be not an EDU service?
Yeah, I think it was like we're opening up for professionals for the work domains.
Which was a pretty big deal.
It was a big deal, and we didn't do any press around it.
So you're at Coachella with Mike Arrington.
No, I called him on the phone or I was texting him.
Oh, you called him. I was going to say Mike Arrington's not going to.
No. So anyways, that's not the point of the story was that like as you get for me at a 30% company.
And you weren't the PR person. You weren't responsible for that.
No, I was not.
But for some crazy reason, you thought you would.
I don't know. It wasn't crazy at all. I was the product manager that helped make that happen. And I want to make sure that it gets recognition and people use it. And so if you want work domains to use it, you have to tell people who have attention of workers.
Got it. I see.
And so
you felt like you were doing the right thing.
I felt like it's launching in the morning.
Did they ever tell you not to?
No.
So they never told you like.
And I told
PR is controlled by this person. Don't ever talk to Arrington or any PR people.
And I told them straight up once I did it, I was like, hey, guys, heads up. Like, this is something I did. It's not something I'm hiding. The second thing was, though, in retrospect and now noticing my patterns and things I do over time, my strength is in, like, chaos. My strength is when things aren't answered and uncertain and they need to be, like, figured out. The 0 to 1. Like, I love 0 to 1. 1 to 2, I have to hire people
and
to
by
help
0
me.
to 1, you mean?
Like, from nothing is existing to creation.
Love it.
That's what I love, and that's what I'm really good at. And so I hire people and find people that compliment me around that. And so with Facebook at 30 people, it was like literally my first day. They're like, Noah, here's a laptop. Find a fucking desk. Get to work on stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
Finally, my tribe.
This is my thing. Then at 9 months later, there's 150 people in a company. We 5x'd in under a year. And to have a meeting about some bullshit thing, it was like some stupid old woman was like, oh, well, let's have a 30-person meeting. And we had like talk for an hour about some bullshit stuff that I'm like, I don't give a fuck about. Let's go back to work.
Yeah.
And so in retrospect, I was actually starting to get bored, which sounds crazy, right? Because now Facebook's 10,000 people. But I was bored and I was like, can we just make things happen and move it quicker?
Zuckerberg famously took you aside and said, "Hey, Noah,
How do you know all this stuff?
get
Who'd you
your
talk to? Did you talk to Zuck?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Well, Zuck's a big fan of the show,
Yeah.
and I told him you're coming on, and he gave me a couple stories. But he pulled you aside and he tried to say, "Hey, kid, you're smart." And he wasn't that. Was he older than you?
No,
Or
about same age.
Same age. So he had same age.
And Jewish. But Jewish.
And so he says, "Hey, we're both members of the same tribe here. Let me give you some advice."
Oh, Noah.
Noah,
Shlomo.
Shlomo Rabinowitz, have to get it together. What is your mom going to say?
The bagels.
If I fire you, your mom, she's going to be
vey.
beside herself. Speaking to your mother.
Actually, Mark's mom was kind of rude, by the way.
Mark's mother was rude?
She walked in. So my mom comes to the office and she's nice to everyone. She asks how everyone's doing. She's really sweet.
How are you doing?
She's like, "Oh, Eamon, how's my little Eamon doing? I miss him." Mark's, I remember this because she walks in the office one day and I'm like, "Hi, Mrs. Zuckerberg. It's good to see you. I'm really excited. Nice to meet." And she's like, just walks right by, goes to Mark. And I was like, that was rude.
Wow.
I was like, that's rude. Huh. But Mark pulled me aside and what he said in that story, and it's actually funny. I had to let someone go 6 months ago, which was that exact story.
Wow.
Which was kind of like a Lion King
Take me
moment.
to that moment.
It was like, oh, Zimba.
So he comes over and he says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?"
Yeah, and it wasn't about the Coachella thing. This was probably 3 months before that. And what he specifically said is that like there is Facebook, and your job, and if you want to be successful here, is to make Facebook successful, not Noah. Because at that time also, I think one of the reasons, in terms of reasons I got fired, one, I did well when it wasn't organized and like things just needed to be happening. I think it's like, hey, we need Excel sheets and we need all these meetings and all this kind of stuff. I just wasn't prepared mentally to be doing that. I wasn't really interested in doing that. The other thing that was personally, and I think this is a thing with businesses and why we actually let someone go recently, is that when you're creating a company, the best way to get successful, the best way to get known, the best way to get attention is make the company successful, not yourself.
Right.
So at that time, I was like going to conferences and I was blogging about Facebook, and part of it was I wanted the attention and the ego of it.
Right.
And part of it, I was like, yo, people should know about Facebook. This thing is going to be amazing. This is a great thing. And honestly, in terms of priorities of my life, Facebook was number one. It was like Facebook, maybe food and health, then my girlfriend, and then my family.
So he told you what?
He said specifically, he's like, look, you can choose. You're going to either do the Noah show or the Facebook show. And that's what he said.
That way, yeah.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I don't have it recorded.
Right.
And he's like, which one do you want? And you can go either way, and that's just for you to choose. And at that time, and it's kind of what this guy would let go recently in our company 6 months ago. He's very talented. He was very good. He's young. At the same age. He's 24, I think. Might be 23. But he's a maverick. He didn't want to be a team player. And to grow a company, you can't do it alone. So you need a team, and you have to have team players. You have to have band members in a band.
Yeah, you got to be on time.
And so
You got to show up for rehearsal on time. You got to be on time in the song.
Exactly, and everyone's got to play their part really well for the whole music to sound
here
great.
you are. Noah's like, "Oh, I'm going to go play a solo."
Yeah, and I
Zuck's like, "Hey, solo
is Zuck's show.
Yeah,
It's the Zuck show.
If we're going to do a solo, maybe I'm going to do the solo, and you can just step back a little bit here."
And that's what it was. I mean, I think if I had to do it all over again, the same thing would probably happen. I think one of the things.
You would knowing what.
Well, knowing what I know now, no, I would just be like 3 more months. Yeah, do whatever the fuck you guys need. I'll be like cleaning.
3 more
toilets.
months, 3 years, 3 months.
Yeah.
You would have fully invested knowing what you know now.
I think for me with my career is that like I generally can start the thing, so I have to figure a way to like keep myself excited as things are maintained and grow and sustaining. So like with Sumo Group. Like with us, SumoMe is our main flagship product. It's marketing tools to grow websites. We'll get to it.
Yeah, let me take a break here because we got to get one commercial break in, and then we're going to get into all the Sumo stuff when we get back with Noah King. Okay, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can follow me on Twitter, Jason. You can follow me on Instagram, Jason. You can follow me on Tumblr, Jason.
How'd you get Jason?
You cannot follow me on YouTube or Vine because they did not give me Jason.
Do you know people?
I know a couple people.
Gosh.
And I just want to say to the people at Vine,
Coming for you.
I know that you work, the guy who has Jason on Vine, and I don't use Vine. There's a guy who works there named Jason. And I'm like, dude, let me Vine it out. Give me Jason.
What'd he say?
He didn't get back to me.
Bro, we'll get him fired.
Come on. That's not cool, man.
Just email Dick. Be like, Jack.
Well, no, because then when they launched Vine, they were like, yeah, whatever your Twitter handle is will be your Vine name. They did this like nice little pairing. And then I was like, okay. And I go to sign up to claim my name. And they're like, nope, there's a Jason who works here. And I'm like, come on, dude. Come on, my dude.
Bro.
Hook me up. Hook me
Get
up,
out of the brochure.
Vine. I'm trying to think of what, I don't know. I'm trying to get Jason.com. That would be the big one for me.
Who owns it?
Some consulting group. It'd be a very nice thing. I could probably do a favor for Jason.com people. All right. So my guest is Noah Kagan, and as you heard, he who had the absolute opportunity of a lifetime and completely fucked it up. And we obsessed on it. But from that pressure, from that fire, you have had quite a run since then, building small businesses and helping build small business. You found what you're good at.
Yes.
Do you have to go to a lot of therapy when you lose a $150 million opportunity?
I've gone to a lot of therapy, a lot of different types of therapy.
A lot of different types.
I went to Mark Pincus's business coach, life coach, Erica, for a year. That helped. I went to.
What did she tell you when you told her the story?
Two things. She said, one, create structure in your life. I was sleeping on couches for a year.
This is one of those guys.
At 20, I don't know.
You a millennial? Is that right?
No. Yes.
You're a millennial or tail end of my.
I'm on the tail end of it.
What are you born? 1982.
82. But I'm looking and we're hiring people, and these millennials are the worst for the most part. They're the worst.
Why?
Because they're looking for meaning and purpose, and they want it to happen in 3 months. And they're not willing to actually put in any work. They're like, all right, so what are all the benefits of the job? I don't really want to do the work part. The work part, you're going to hire someone else to do.
Right. You are on the tail end of millennials. Like most people say millennials start in 1980. So you're either, depending on people's definition, you're either Gen X, end of Gen X or beginning of millennials.
I don't know the labels. I'm just saying, like, we have people at Sumo Group, and everyone there is awesome, and we do have people that are 20 up until 36, and it is weird to be the old guy in a company. But I'll say that the majority of millennials are looking for quick fixes. They're looking for like the Instagram of life, where it's 15-second photos and clips to experience their professional life. So they're not putting any work, and they expect a lot of things out of it.
So you decide you're going to build the Sumo series of business. Sumo.
So Sumo.
Like a sumo wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have AppSumo. You have King Sumo, which I have.
Yes.
Why do I have a hard time with the word?
Yeah. Are you joking?
No, sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
No, I found out that I have a light form of dyslexia. So sometimes small words, because I didn't learn phonetics when I was growing up in Brooklyn. They put me in an experimental educational thing where you didn't learn phonetics, and then they wound up canceling it. My mom feels very guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about it. I'm very successful despite that.
Hey, do you want to finish the therapy thing real quickly?
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that. So what she told you, create structure.
So 2, 1, create structure. Because I'm sleeping on couches. She's like, look, you got to have a routine. You need to have like your own bed, get your own place. And
why?
I think it's hard to have a stable life if you don't have a stable life.
Got it. Okay,
right?
So you need a foundation so you can focus on your work properly.
Exactly. And then personal, professional, and health, all this stuff, relationship. So one got a place. Second thing she did, which was really helpful, and I've written about this, which is just like, hey, all that money you may have made, what would you have done? And then it was like, well, I would have bought an M3. I would have bought a house. You can't buy a wife, but whatever other things you really want. And so she's like, make a list.
You would have been an attractive mate because you could have provided.
Yeah, and now I can't because I'm on the streets. No, I can still provide, Jason.
Exactly.
But
no,
anyway,
I'm just saying, but that was her point, right? Like you still have some of these things.
I could do all those things.
You still could do it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. 2 things I've noticed. One, a lot of those guys now have McLarens and hotels. But a lot of them also, now you have so much money, I don't really see them doing as much. They seem a little lost once they've had all this money, and they're just like posting on Facebook all the day, like, hey, blah. So anyway,
calling in rich.
What's that?
We call it calling in rich.
What does that mean?
You call in sick.
Yeah.
People call in rich. They're like, oh, I have made so much money. I see with angel investors and VCs a lot. Yeah. They're like, God, I've made so much money. Why do I need to go to work? It's like a purpose thing. Like, they're like, oh, I got to go to work and deal with nonsense when I have all this money in the bank. Well, I could just go to Coachella or Burning Man or whatever. Burning Man.
Well, so yeah, that was one thing, and those helped. And then I went to psychoanalysis for like 2 years. Really? And then, what's that?
Really?
Yeah, Tucker Max is a good friend. He's in Austin. He was like, yo, you seem fucked up. You really should go like figure out some shit.
I just had a coffee with Tucker Max last week. He's doing a very interesting business.
Yeah, the book in a box. Yeah.
Very interesting. I like that. We got to have Tucker. Can we make a note?
You got to get Tucker on. Tucker's
Emmy award-winning producer.
Well, it's also his evolution's been amazing, which you can talk about in the show. And
he was a bra.
He was a bra and like brought out, and then like now he's like dad out. He's dad bodding,
Yeah.
What I was thinking about? What's a mom bod? I was trying to figure that because you have a wife and a mom.
Yeah.
What's a mom bod? Do they have this yet?
When you say a dad bod is what?
A dad bod is like that flabby bod thing that was.
Oh, yeah. No. A mom bod is, I go to Pilates like 4 days a week. Like the moms are, at least from what I've seen, like the moms, I think take fitness so seriously that I see a lot of moms who look better than non-moms.
Damn. I will say I'm 34 now and I am single, so as putting it out there, got to manifest it.
Yes.
But I'm meeting some moms these days, and at 25, I never met moms, and now I'm meeting moms. I'm like, it's kind of cool. It's different.
Yeah, of course.
But anyways, and then the therapy now, it's more of just like exploring like what are patterns I've done in the past, what are things like, how does it help me move forward, stuff like that.
Got it. So you do a lot of that, and then this business actually has worked really well. So because I have King
Sumo.
Sumo. Sumo.
KingSumo.com.
KingSumo.com.
Yes.
Which for people who don't know this has worked, and I didn't realize that this was yours as well. But we did this like giveaway thing. Explain what King Sumo is.
Yeah. Can I take a little bit, like 20 second, give a backstory?
Yeah.
All right. So we started off with AppSumo.com, which was Groupon for geeks. So AppSumo is basically like a bi-weekly newsletter. We promote awesome press. So if you go to AppSumo.
I'm going to go to that right now.
Yeah. AppSumo.com. We actually have ClassPass on there, which is super popular. So I'm not even explaining how I came up with it, but basically AppSumo, we have 1 million people email subscriber, and twice a week we send out amazing deals. Eamon, Ullman, find amazing deals, and they promote them to like ClassPass. We've done.
Who wrote this? You wrote this?
I know Eamon and their team writes it. They run the whole thing separately.
Got it.
So we started with this, and then we started doing a lot of these giveaways to grow our email list to the 1 million people that we have now. Yeah. And these guys have done amazing with AppSumo.com. And so if you're an entrepreneur, definitely go sign up. It's free. You find awesome products. You discover new things. Through this, we kept doing giveaways to grow our email list. And then we're like, hey, this is working insanely well. What if we sold that as a product so we can control and predict our revenue better? And that's where King Sumo came out.
Got it.
So King Sumo was our giveaway software. And then we're like, hey, we've actually built even more tools than that. But and that's actually the main thing we focus on now. We have all these marketing tools that we've created that helped us grow this business to a very healthy 7-figure business. And that's what's become SumoMe.com, which is marketing tools to grow your website. So specifically around email, growing your email list or leads, and getting more shares.
More people are getting into email now.
Oh, it's the best channel. It's the only marketing channel you really should be prioritizing.
Why? Why is email the only marketing channel you should prioritize?
So let's just think about the alternative. So you grow your Facebook channel, right? Like how many people are let's just look you up. Like go to your Facebook page for like this, for Twist. Well, you're a fast typer. I like it. That's actually one of the hiring interview questions I always ask. What's your typing speed?
My typing speed about 100 words a minute.
It's clearly fast. I'm impressed. The one thing though, on your guys' laptops, you got to change your mouse speed. This mouse speed is so slow.
Yeah.
You got to change the tracking speed, everyone. Change your tracking speed. So anyway, so like let's just do an example. So go to your This Week in Startups.
Yeah.
So you have 24,000 people.
Yeah.
And you posted this an hour ago and you have 24 views. Let's keep
terrible.
going. See, look at Facebook. They've got their own pop-ups. People saying pop-ups are dead. Look at Facebook. So look, 15 views, 24 views, 40 views. What are the rest of the 23,000 people doing all day? Sorry if I'm yelling.
Yeah, well, no.
What the fuck are they doing all day? And so I'm like, all right, I worked so hard to get all these likes and I have all these followers. Like on Twitter, I have 50,000 followers. I post something, 200 clicks. And guess what? They want you. So Facebook and Google want you. They want to limit you from anyone going to your site. They want you to pay to play.
Yeah.
So think about this. And I always
change the rules. They told
change
everybody.
the rules every week. So imagine running a business where they're changing the rules.
No, it's a disaster.
You need to create a scalable channel of communicating with your customers. There is no scalable channel besides email to communicate with your customers. Mail physically is expensive. Salespeople is a big overhead. You can't go door to door. Phone calls, same shit, right? With Twitter, Facebook, Google, they limit and change the rules so that you have to pay them to communicate with your customers.
This is why journalism is so screwed in publishing, because they invested so heavily in SEO on Google's platform, and then Google changed the rules and killed everybody. Then Facebook, they invested in social. And then what did Facebook do? They changed the rules.
Mark's like, oh, I'm hungry today. Maybe we'll change it over here.
Yeah, we'll get some money. And then you have to pay. So to me to reach my 25, I got to pay.
So why we've built our tools is that it is BS. And imagine running a business where it's on quicksand. You wouldn't never build a house on quicksand, but you're building a business. Rules are changed. You can't do what you have to do. And guess what? You have to pay now. It's to talk to your own customers. So email is the only thing that you're like, I know how many are opening it. I know how many are clicking. I know who exactly they are. And it's the only scalable way that you can actually directly communicate, consistently educate, and sell your customers. So SumoMe, to me, it's free to start. It's the best toolkit that you can use for growing your email list, having shares, and then marketing tools essentially for an online website. And so it's this stuff that we've used to grow our own business. And now we have 150,000 active sites a day using it, reaching 60 million people.
And it's really interesting. You're not trying to brand yourself in this. You get VIP support and you just pay.
That's a funny one. So we originally are trying to charge for branding. So we made it free for the first year, and then we started charging for it.
Free for the first year? That's aggressive.
Well, no. We wanted everyone to use it. So, we're on Tim Ferriss, we're on Social Media Examiner, we're on like Art of Manliness, we're on all these popular sites so that people see it, influencer marketing. And our first thing we charged for was like take our logo off of SumoMe. And I honestly, like certain days, Jason, I'm like, okay, yellow Ferrari. I'm going to get so rich this time.
Yeah.
It's finally happening. And I actually finally got a nice car, which I don't even want anymore, which is a whole separate story.
What car did you get?
I got like this F-Type Jag.
Uh-huh.
And
you don't like it?
I just need a Honda. I'm just a Honda guy. I don't value it. There's no value. I like buying nice things at times. I just don't value having a nice car that I drive.
Model X.
What's that?
Get the Model X. It's incredible.
I just don't have a family yet, dude.
Oh yeah,
Like
but it's still incredible. Like or just get a Model S and get it self-driving.
All right,
It's
maybe Model 3.
incredible.
So anyway, so we charge for branding. I'm like, man, when people have to pay to take off the branding, they're gonna go wild.
Yeah. And
Crickets.
Really?
No one paid.
so they liked
one
actually branding it.
They just were indifferent.
Indifferent.
Paying for
Even
that
worse.
actually wasn't something that mattered.
So
to
what
them.
did they want to pay for?
So it's been a really interesting experience with SumoMe. So we've built a lot of different tools. The tools are kind of 3 categories: grow your email list, grow your social shares, and then analytics on the website. So kind of like if you think about it, it's a funnel of your website. You want to get them there. You want to make sure they do certain things, and then you want to be able to communicate with them moving forward. And we have that all for people in one place. And so what they ended up wanting to pay for is like certain businesses value growing their email list. So the more that you can help them do that, the more they're willing to pay. So like, what are the different things? So like and I can show some of the stuff if you want.
Let's pull up your screen. Tell me, because I'm into the email stuff, as you know.
Yes.
I have inside.com. It's
Yes.
all email newsletters, growing very nicely. What are the things I should be doing to grow inside VR and AR, inside San Francisco, inside drones, all these newsletters I'm starting? Because you and I are pretty simpatico here in that I am so frustrated after having invested in 3 platforms. I invested in Google, got my ass kicked, invested in YouTube, got my ass kicked. Never really invested in Facebook because I realized I didn't trust them. And so I just basically told them, like in a meeting with like the top people, I was like, are you guys going to share revenue or not? So if you're not even going to share revenue, it's like, it's not even as good as YouTube or Google. And I still have the risk. So when are you going to start sharing revenue? And Google doesn't, and Facebook still doesn't share revenue, right?
I feel you. So let me show you a few things that you should optimize on your website. And this is what everyone should be doing to be growing their email list.
Yeah.
Basically, and here's a cheesy thing, but I like it. Your email list is your ATM.
Mm-hmm. Say it again.
Your email list is your ATM.
Explain.
The more you grow your email list, the bigger your bank account is.
Perfect.
It's
Perfectly correlated.
And if you think about it, like, what does Facebook do the first thing you do if you come to their website? If you're not
your
logged in,
email.
give us your email. There's something there that these other companies have figured out. Why do I have to try to figure out new things?
Right.
Be creative on the 1, not on the 9 out of 10 things.
Yeah.
So here's things that I would recommend for you. So number 1, you don't have a scroll box. So, and I'll show demos of it so you can see it, but something right here as I'm getting halfway through, it's like at a restaurant. If you don't remind me to come back, I'm not going to think about your restaurant. There's so many options out there. How many websites are out there? How many apps are out there? Millions. I don't know if it's billions. So you need something to say, hey, let me tell you about the next article coming out. So SumoMe, we have a scroll box that would come in the bottom right. 2 other things that I would highly recommend for you. One is called click triggers.
Okay.
So what a click trigger is that you know this really well. You've built a lot of websites. You've seen a lot of websites. You've invested in a lot of websites. People will pay attention where? In the middle. So with a click trigger, what it does is that as I'm reading a link, it's like, oh, do you want to find out more about this? I click the link, and then it says, hey, give us your email to find out more about this. So it's actually inline. It's it's inline. It's about a 50% conversion.
Wow.
To an email
So if I
sign-up.
put there, like, let's say it was the launch ticker, and if I put there, would you like to get the weekly roundup of venture capital deals?
Exactly.
Put your email in.
And it's just within line. So you can put that link in there, and that's a click trigger within SumoMe.
I love that.
The thing with that is that you don't even have to say it. It's like, hey, do you want to learn more about President Duarte? Click here to learn more. I click it, and I'll show some demos of that.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling it up so I can give you demo links. Here's one other thing I would recommend. So landing pages. So we created a tool called Welcome Mat. This is all. The nice thing about SumoMe is you don't have to go and worry about your developer designer, worry about all these random plugins that you might use or try to build it yourself. But we have all in one place. So you should do custom landing pages, which you've paid money for someone to go do those.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to pay. Well, not that you want to fire your guy,
Right.
But now literally within a minute you can have a page looking like this. It feels like an infomercial.
Yeah. Double your
But it's just like-
traffic. If we can't convince you, no one can.
And so like you can have a custom landing page really quickly. 2 other ones. So I'll show you like our pop-up one, which some people don't like, some people do.
Wow. Shakes. I love it.
Well, and this is all fully customized. Actually, one thing that Robert built that I think is super cool is that it actually have type ahead. So one, if someone's ever signed up on an email address on any SumoMe site, so 2 things. One, we save time for mobile specifically because we're focused on mobile conversions.
Yeah.
Is that it's hard to type your email on a mobile phone.
Right.
So we have type ahead so that once people start typing ahead, it'll predict it. Secondly, if they enter their email address on any SumoMe site, then it's already going to be there. And let them opt in so that your conversions are going to be higher.
And what does this cost me? $50 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month? If I want to use this on Inside across all our sites and we get a couple 100,000 people, what am I going to get per month?
It starts out free. So you can actually use we have free heat maps, free scroll tracking, free pop-ups.
But I want all the stuff. I want the templates.
It ranges, I would say for a site of yours, it's about $100 a month.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think some of the time.
What are you making? Tens of thousands of dollars a month from this? Hundreds of thousands?
Yeah. And it's a 7-figure business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You built this yourself? Any venture backed?
No, it's all bootstrapped.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have an amazing team of 30 people working on this.
30 full-time people?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you bootstrapped a 30-person business, multiple millions of dollars.
8 figures total.
8 figures now.
Well, we have AppSumo and SumoMe.
Got it.
Yeah.
So wow, yum.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, it's kind of one of these things where my biggest challenge and one of the things I'm working on personally is like, I do like the starting of new things. And this is something I've now been working on for 6 years, investing a lot of my life with amazing people. And it's like, I'm working through it with therapy and then personally, like, how do I continually stay excited and help grow this from the 8 to maybe 9 or 8 to like a larger 8?
Yeah. And
so
what is that? That's just an issue of focus. Being able to do 1 to 2, as we said before. You got 0 to 1, you built all this stuff. You got excited about that, but staying focused in the scale part of the business is hard.
It's really, and there's people who are better than that. And so I'm trying to.
By the way, do you realize how I'm paradoxical? It wouldn't be ironic, it would be paradoxical. You realize how paradoxical this is? Because you're building a product that helps people get from 1 to 2. You built a product to help people scale, but you yourself have a hard time scaling.
So what I fundamentally love is 2 things. I love when people love their jobs. Because my mom hated her job. She's a nurse. She complained about it every day. And I love my mom.
My mom's a nurse too.
Was she?
Yeah. What did your mom do? Emergency room, ICU?
No, more like hospitalist, like the
hospice.
No, hospitalist. So like when you come in, she was just like a general nurse.
Got it.
I think so.
All right.
So and she didn't like her job, and she was complaining. I was like, and man, I really love when people love their jobs. And 2, I love when I find something I love, like AppSumo or SumoMe. I love helping promote it. Like Mint.com, I still am not a great marketer. People say I am. They put that label on me. I just was like, holy shit, everyone that's relevant needs to know about Mint. And I went out and did that. And so SumoMe is like the culmination of like, here are the tools that I want to use and I created with a great team that you can do it for yourself. And so SumoMe is like, all right, now if you want to promote yourself, here are the tools. This is what you need to do to grow your business. Yeah. But it is kind of funny. Yeah. Like this toolkit is not necessarily for someone starting out. We're looking for people who are making a little bit of money or have a little bit of traffic and are looking to go to the next level. And they don't want to, have to worry about developers, designers, and all this other stuff. And they can have it in one place.
Got it. Interesting. And so give me some more examples. Who else is using it and how is it helping grow stuff?
Well, so this is actually a brand new feature called Embed. I think that's kind of cool. So if you're reading an article, as you're scrolling through, you'll actually, a lot of the things...
I like that. That's kind of like Medium where they put like a bar in the middle or something. Or who does this? Quartz. Have you ever seen the Quartz website, qz.com? They were the first people to do this design.
What we do is the way I look at it is we democratize stuff that people have spent millions and millions of dollars or have a bunch of team paying for to figure out. And we're like, what if we made that for everyone else, like for the little guys and the medium guys? Yeah. And that's what we create in our tools. So this is something that Justin built, where now like in your blog, you can have a really easy way to say, hey, give us this, or Justin's building inline forms. So you can put
This is off of WordPress or any website?
Any website.
Really?
Yeah.
You just snap in the code and it does it.
I mean, here, I'll just show you an example. So like on here, so basically you install SumoMe, and then you literally get just the essential tools you need for marketing. So you can have from email pop-ups to like, Social Media Examiner has like their share buttons. So if you want to like optimize your share buttons, you can choose how it looks on mobile. You can choose like where it places. You can choose which things. And one of the things as an example is Facebook changed their API last week. They change their API every week. Yeah. And guess what? We deal with it so that other people don't have to. Right. So you don't have to worry about your developer or going back in.
Is Facebook a good place to try to acquire emails? Where can if I want to get 1,000 people to sign up for Inside San Francisco or Inside Drones, right? Yeah. 2 of these vertical newsletters I have. Yeah. What would be a way for me to get 1,000 people today? What would you do to get 1,000 people? Let's say I have 10,000 people on the list
just starting
already.
Out, like you don't have access to your resources? Or
let's say I have access to resources, but let's say I have 10,000 people on the list already. I want to just grow the list 10% in one day. What would you do? Let's brainstorm here for a second.
Yeah. Give me a sec. Okay. The music's good though. All right. So one, the best people that you already have are the ones you already have.
Okay.
And what I say
my best customers, my existing customers.
I think 90% of businesses ignore that. So it's 2 things. One, your customers you already have, and the network you already have. So if I were you, number one, I would probably send out a promotion to your email list saying like, hey guys, I want you to refer one person, send them this link, and then one person who signs up, I'm going to give them like an hour with me. I'm going to send them like a laptop, whatever it is.
Got it.
Just have your own existing
or a contest to an existing list.
Or just tell your own existing list like, hey, I'm trying to grow my list to 1,000 people. I want you guys to be a part of it and help me. And actually, you'll be surprised that your customers want to be a part of the experience. So either do it a giveaway or just tell them what you're trying to do. Yeah.
And they might listen.
Yeah, one thing that I've done in the past is that I had sent out an email and I'm like, hey, click this link to forward it to them. And it literally, when you click the link, it pre-populates an email that they can just forward.
Love it.
Because most people are like forwarded. I'm like, now I have to go hit this and but pre-populate something they can easily do.
So that's the number one thing to do. Ask your existing base to spread the word.
Number 2, look at your own network. So you have on LinkedIn, if I pulled it up, like
a lot of people.
You have a lot of people. So
does LinkedIn still show you how many connections you have and how big your network is?
It does. You can also export your whole email list from there.
What?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you can actually go on LinkedIn, search LinkedIn. Oh, this is Jackie's email. Should we see what messages she gets?
Oh yeah, here we go. Let's pull
naughty,
Jackie
naughty.
up. I like it.
No, so
Pull
like,
Jackie up.
well, so like, or LinkedIn.
I want to see all the job offers she has coming in.
Everyone good. You know, that's actually a really insightful thing.
She's not leaving.
No, Jackie,
loves working
don't go anywhere. No, everyone good. This is something this blew my mind. Everyone at our team gets recruited often.
Of course.
I didn't know that. I was like,
I tell people who come work for me, like, listen, you're going to get recruited like ridiculously if you come work for me.
Jackie, come with me if you want to live.
No,
so
it's
look,
true.
Here's the site. If you want to pull this up, it's linkedin.com/people/export-settings. You can export your whole contact list. Now you have your 5,000 people/export-settings. So that would be my part number 2 is like, look at your existing.
Wow, look at that, huh?
Yeah, you can export everyone. I wouldn't add these people to an email list. I would email them saying, hey, can I add you to it? Or click this link to add yourself.
Interesting.
So I wouldn't go doing it without their approval. I would let them know about it. That'd be number 2. I'd probably look within your own network. So you have like Facebook groups you're in, you have LinkedIn groups you're in, you have Slack groups, which are really powerful. So you can go online and look up Slack groups to join.
Interesting.
But I would say the second thing you should do is look at what you already have access to. Do you have other people on Twitter? Like you have people on Twitter that you know, like, can you just tell those people, hey, would you please just promote my newsletter, inside.com/whatever. So look at whatever existing network you already have access to. Most people kind of are already looking for the outside one that they have less control over. I look for things can have like a direct measurable impact on my marketing. Interesting.
Well, here we go. We're going to see how many emails I have here. I'm loading it. I don't know how many I have. Let's view my...
I don't even know how to do it. It is pretty funny. We're like looking through Jackie's site.
No, I'm looking at my... Oh, wow, Jackie's really concerned now. Now I know what's going on. Let's see how many I have here. So oh my God, I have 7,400. I didn't know you could do this. My God.
Cool.
Noah, here it is. I'm going to tell everybody right now. Go pay Noah $100 a month for the greatest product ever.
SumoMe.com.
SumoMe.com.
SumoMe.com. It's marketing tools for your website.
SumoMe.com.
Yes.
This is the greatest product ever. This is the smartest guy ever. What a great tip. I had no idea you could actually export all this stuff. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, the other thing I would probably do is that on your social media, so this is where you can use like Buffer or Meet Edgar.
I like Buffer.
So on your social media, here's what you're doing. You're not doing. You're saying on social media, hey, you guys should check out Inside. You need to do that every week repeatedly. So put that in a calendar or have Jackie do it or Stacey.
Wait, say again?
So here's what happens. When you actually tell someone something on social, only like, as we just saw from your Facebook page, only 1/10 to 100th actually see it. So on a weekly or everyday basis, you can be actually telling those people to go sign up for your newsletter or go do certain action. Because the majority of them won't see it. And most of the people won't mind seeing it again.
Right, of course not.
The thing people might suggest
is repetition. So we got 3 really good ones here. 1, ask the existing list to spread the word.
Yes.
Pre-populate the email in that email. 2, export my contacts, 7,500 people. I could just add these people to my general list.
I would email them to get approval first, so double opt-in, so there's no spam issues or things like that.
But I could email them to like when I write an essay and just say, hey, I just wrote this essay. Here, you might be interested. And I don't think anybody would complain if they follow me on there.
Yeah, tell them to unfriend you on LinkedIn if they're not your real friends. That's what I do with people.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say,
I agree.
Can I do a selfish plug? It's not even selfish. It's for the people listening.
Let me ask you one question about LinkedIn.
Hit me.
In order for them to be a connection here, do you know if I have to accept their friendship?
Yeah, these are accepted ones.
I haven't accepted friends in 10 years on this platform.
And you have 7,000 people.
And I have 7,000.
It's probably because when you connected, you add your address book and that they auto-connected everyone.
Look how many pending invitations I have. I have 3,300 pending connections. So I actually could have 10,000.
Here's the thing I'm wondering. How are you going to
Is there a way to accept them all?
Well, how are you going to get your next job, though? That's what I'm really concerned about. Like, if you're not networked, Jason, like, you need to update your resume, update your LinkedIn.
I just need to pay somebody to just sit here and accept all these people.
Oh, hey, that was me. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, look at all these people who are...
Stop accepting all the randos.
I'm accepting everybody.
Hey, Jason, hold on. One more thing. So on your website, you need to install SumoMe to collect emails. Then you don't have to do anything. SumoMe works 24/7, even while you sleep.
I'm putting
So on your own website, you install SumoMe, turn on List Builder, turn on Welcome Mat.
Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, take a memo. I want a meeting, all staff meeting. And by all staff, I mean you and Austin.
We're an executive team retreat right here.
Inside.com, calacanis.com, and
but here's the thing, it's like
thisweekinstartups.com, launch.com, all to have AppSumo by the end of the day. SumoMe by the end of the day.
SumoMe, think about this. You know what I think about? Like, so you have the staff, right? The problem, Jackie has a major problem.
I have a
team. Do you know the problem with your team? Do you know the number one problem? Is that they sleep. They all go to sleep. They're sleeping.
It's interesting.
You tell them not to, right? SumoMe does not sleep.
No, I was about to send a memo today about the sleep thing. Absolutely getting ridiculous. I have people sleeping literally multiple times per week.
No, and
unacceptable.
And they're napping and now this whole meditation thing for an hour every morning.
I have hardworking people. Look, I think what I need though is I have to tell you, like I had to give this big speech last week to my team.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, we're taking it to the 20-yard line. We're in the red zone.
You got to score. Come on.
We have to score. And it's like everybody works really hard, but everybody has to be candid with each other in the @Cat Mulby from that great episode and just say, listen, am I actually creating an impact? And you know what? Getting a bunch of great speakers at the conference, great. Is that making an impact? I'm not sure. Booking a great guest, is that making a great impact? Yeah, it helps, but we have to email everybody, let them know that the guest was on. We have to tell them why to watch the show, what they're going to learn. We have to do the last piece, which is in that red zone, which is what you specialize in, is the marketing piece.
What most people do, Jason, and I think just to reiterate what you're saying, that's like the FedEx commercial where he's like, you said it this way and I said it anyways, is that they spend 80%, and I see this literally constantly, they spend 80-90% creating a blog post or creating a product or creating like something, and they spend the last lap, the most important lap, they're like,
the victory lap.
Hey, guess what? Hopefully someone finds it. And I think what most people should be doing is spending 50-50 at least, making sure that at least.
So 50% of Jackie's time producing the show, 50%
promoting it. So
Jackie, honestly, what percentage you spend promoting, do you think? Be candid. I can hear you. Or tell me in the chat room. What percentage do you think we spend?
And this is a problem for every business out there. They're spending all the time creating the product, which is great.
20% she says she spends. So you got to just double it. That's all. Just double it.
Which is like, and I think my suggestion for people is one, have a clear goal for marketing. How many people do you want to hear per episode? So maybe your downloads are 100,000 an episode. I don't know.
Look at this, and here's the response I get from producer Jackie. And stop booking? No, I want you to do both. But you have to be able to book efficiently, and you have to be able to market efficiently.
Or hire someone that's dedicated. Figure out the system. So here's one thing we're figuring out with SumoMe. What is the repeatable system? What is the formula? So Jackie, for promotion, here's my 3-step checklist. I create one Medium article. I create one LinkedIn article. I do one LinkedIn, and I pay Facebook $300.
We're getting there. But you know what? Here's the problem I have. The marketing becomes, when people get busy, the marketing becomes the thing they take off their to-do list. It's the thing that they miss. They're like, oh, we're super busy. Oh, I got a camera, but we didn't email anybody about it. And we emailed everybody once about it. Like probably should be in 2 emails maybe. Or we should tweet it 3 times.
Actually, what's really
We do clips. That's been working really well.
Oh, like a short thing you put out.
We've been doing short clips, and then we put the sponsors on the short clips. So that's really starting to work.
Do you want to hear something wild?
She tweets constantly, though. I'll give you credit for the tweeting.
Do you understand
the
wild?
Email, I don't give you credit for, Jackie. You need to really
Jackie, you do more than we recognize. But let me just share something wild.
We got to get the email doing.
With AppSumo and SumoMe, we send out an email for a promotion, or for SumoMe, we tell people, like, hey, go buy the product. 50% of the revenue comes on the reminder email.
Wow.
Think about that. That actually blew my mind. And when I'm doing recruiting, I track my recruiting emails. 50% of my responses come from email number 2. Wow. So it's one of these things that I think most people send out an email for an introduction or send an email for a promotion. It's that second, third email where it's actually going to be driving a lot of the results.
All right, listen. My guest today has been Noah Kagan. He is a brilliant marketer. And if you want to align yourself with a product, there is no better product to align yourself with for growth than SumoMe. There you have it. SumoMe. SumoMe. Like a sumo wrestler. Sumo.
You're saying sumo.
What am I saying?
Sumo.
What am I supposed to be saying?
Sumo.
SumoMe. Sumo. Yeah, that's what I said. Sumo. Sumo, like a sumo wrestler. No, it's sumo, like a wrestler. SumoMe.com. And follow Noah Kagan. Noah Kagan, Kagan, on the Twitter.
At Instagram, Noah Kagan.
At Instagram, Noah Kagan.
I post selfies like on the regular, or Snapchat, Noah Kagan.
If you're single.
I am single. Oh.
I know you're single. I'm saying to the audience.
All the tech dudes
if you know
listening.
somebody single in Austin.
Or anywhere.
Or anywhere.
And
that's a little
okay, we do niche marketing. One, you're better than me. That was great. So in, let's say, San Francisco Bay Area, Austin, let's try one of those 2 geos.
I'm going to go with LA.
Maybe, or LA, Venice.
LA.
And then maybe Jewish. Possibly. Possibly a Jew. I've never tried the Jew.
Come on.
I know. That's a true story.
Really?
Never.
You're Jewish and you don't date Jewish girls?
I've never dated a Jew in my life. So
it's actually kind of funny. When I was in New York, I had a girlfriend, and we had our second date, and she leaned over to me and she said, I just want to let you know that I'm really into you. We're having sushi at Bond Street. And I was like,
it's cool.
I like you too. I'm really into you too. She goes, however, I'm Jewish, and I have to marry a Jewish man. I could never marry you. And I was like, So she says, I just want to spend a lot of time with you.
But so did you guys?
Well, of course. But so I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like,
So she'll give
there's
you
no expectation other than we're going to have dates, have a good time, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but it's not going anywhere. And I was like, I think this is kind of my ideal situation here. There's no expectation of marriage or kids or anything. We're just going to date and eat sushi and have a good time. I was like, okay, fair enough.
I tried to date with the Jewish girl, and but one of the first things she says is like, hey, the ring has to be $25,000. And I was like, I'm like, $25,000 I was like, this is our first date. So I don't know if that's a normal Jewish thing, but like, it was definitely different for me.
But you're Jewish.
I am Jewish.
You're Jewish. All right. Well, listen, I'm Jewish by association.
I appreciate the putting the plug out there. Thank you for getting the
I'm
word
going to put the plug out there. But you would, if somebody converts to Judaism, that would be okay too.
Yeah. I mean, even if they just like Jewish people.
I had to give a friend of mine a tip.
Oh, please. Any dating advice, marriage advice? Yeah.
This is a tip. And it's not about necessarily females or Jewish people or not Jewish people. This is just a tip. And I think it works particularly well for men dating women, although it would work for women dating men as well. But men seem somewhat clueless, I find. And I know when I was younger, I probably did this as well. So I was talking to my friend who just has a hard time on dates. And I said, okay, and everybody knows who he is. Somebody higher, but not high profile, but you would know him. And I said to him, listen, single guy, you're going on this date. He really liked this girl. And he was like, I'm going on this date with this girl. You got any advice from me? I said, yes, I have perfect advice for you. I'm going to give you the technique. I want you to ask her on the date how she's doing. Then I want you to tilt your head, look her in the eyes, do not break eye contact, and I want you to listen. And after she answers, and the answer will probably be like, oh no, I'm great, I had a killer week, or yeah, I'm really good, I had to go
Pilates, bar class.
Whatever it is that she states. And then I want you to go, oh, interesting. And let it hang out there for a second, and then say, how are you really doing? And then I want you to really listen to that answer. If she says, like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, how are you really doing? Like existentially or deeply, like, how are you really doing?
That's cool.
I'm just curious. And then she's going to start saying what's really, because the first answer is always just the courteous answer, because you think everybody's used to everybody being so goddamn superficial in this world that if anybody asks you how you're doing, they don't actually want the answer.
Okay.
So you have to say, no, but I really want the answer. Like, how are you really doing? Like, how are you really feeling about life? Like the past, the future, right now, the present.
Yeah.
Then I want you to really listen to that answer, which this person would really have a hard time with. I say, I really want you to listen to the answer. And if you can't listen to the answer, I just want you to grab a keyword. Any keyword in the answer. And then I want you to say after the keyword, let's say she talks about her mom, or she talks about her dad, or her friend, or sister. I just want to say, your sister. It's really interesting. Tell me more. Just pick, because this person has a hard time with the attention deficit thing, I said, just get a keyword. And it's very important that you don't break eye contact.
The keyword.
You notice during this conversation, I did not break eye contact with you? And do you notice that you in this conversation felt effortless?
I feel like Robin Givens and you're Howard Stern. That's how I feel like.
You should feel that way. You should feel like you're in a conversation. You should feel like you're heard. And part of being heard is having eye contact.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many people don't make eye contact. Now, I'll break eye contact. Sometimes I'll look up when I'm thinking about something or forming a question. That's a cue for you to know that I'm actually really deeply thinking about the question I'm about to ask.
Yeah. Have you ever had eye sex, by the way?
Okay, other than this interview?
I'm just saying. No, I've had like a doctor.
What is eye sex?
Eye sex is literally, and I did this with a friend's. It was safe sex. It was safe eye sex.
Safe eye sex. You wear glasses.
Yeah, of course. I mean, protection. So you literally, with your wife, maybe try this tonight. You go home or with a date or something, and you literally just stare at each other for a minute, and you don't say shit.
And you just pretend you're having sex?
No, you can.
Okay,
you're just having eye sex.
Okay, so that's sort of what I'm getting at, is that being present. And I think, here's the thing. Everybody in this life, we were built as social animals. One of the reasons that we have taken over the planet and dominated the ecosystem, there's a really good book called Sapiens, which you can get on audible.com/twist. I don't know if they're an advertisement in this episode, but you get a free book if you go to audible.com/twist. This book, Sapiens, talks about why humans, and which races of humans, because there were many different, right? Why our Homo sapiens actually took over was because, in large part, because we were able to have community and we were able to create a larger framework for community. And the larger framework for community are things like religion, government, mythology, just our shared experience. Our species has succeeded because of our ability to relate to each other. It is what we are at our core. It's not solo acts. We are bands, and we're villages, and we're friends. And if you can actually bond and commune with someone and they can feel heard, the amount of connection you have will be incredibly deep. But all you have to do is listen. You learn nothing when you're talking. You learn everything when you're listening.
And is this guy the one you gave this advice to? Where's he now?
I'll tell you what happened. The girl he was going on his second date with, they're both madly in love. And he said that it was the greatest tip he ever got. Madly in love. And I predict they could get married. And this has been going on now for 3 or 4 months. So this has actually worked. This tip, he said it was the best tip, and he thanked me so much.
Jason, that tip?
What's that?
That tip was interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
Exactly.
Is that pretty
All right, everybody. Noah Kagan's been with us for the hour or so. SumoMe. SumoMe.
This is the funnest interview I had in a while. It was fun.
SumoMe.com. And if you see him, I want you to tell him what a great job he did. And I want you specifically to tell him, don't feel bad about losing $150 million, because his business currently, if it's doing 8 figures, if there's 2 businesses doing 8 figures and you times it by 10 or 20, which is what we get acquired for, and he owns the majority of these businesses because he funded them himself. He probably got some partners on the other one. You know what? You're going to be worth $100 million. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. These businesses are smart. This
Sumo stuff, AppSumo,
Sumo stuff is just brilliantly constructed to make money, and they're elegantly simple. Bootstrapped. Profitable since the beginning. I love it. You know what? You may have lost $150 million in Mark's company, but I think you make $150 million with this company. That's what I think. All right.
Nice,
this has been an amazing episode. Thank you, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, for getting such amazing guests so consistently. There's a little golf clap for Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie. Hey, Jake is doing a good job. Everybody thank Jake at Launch.co for doing a great job with the sound. He's been working very hard. Master Jake, as I call him, Master. That's what they used to call the young gentleman. Master. Master Jake is doing a very good job. Jake, I'm very proud of you. You got the sound under control. But if you guys hear one tiny mess up on audio visual, I want you immediately to email Jake at launch.co and tell him in detail. And then you CC Jackie at launch.co so that we want to be on it. We want you to tell us when there's a problem because we care. And thank you so much to our partners and sponsors who make everything possible, and Luke for selling them. Stacy, my assistant, Ashley, my chief of staff, Troy working on conferences, Austin and Lon working on Inside, everybody around me making me look so good and so professional all these years. Thank you so much to the team, past and present. And we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. I'm thrilled to have Encore Aria back with me. Encore, you've been on the show before. You are the GM of everything, basically, at Braintree, which bought Venmo back in the day.
That's right.
And it's part of PayPal.
Correct.
So you manage that full stack there. And for people who don't know, Braintree is what all my startups use to put payments into their product.
That's great. I'm happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of famous customers. Who are the famous apps and startups that use Braintree?
Some small companies like Uber, Airbnb, and StubHub, and others, yeah.
And instead of building their own payment gateway, merchants, or all this stuff that goes into payments, they just trust it to Braintree.
Yeah, we've just built a layer of infrastructure that allows small developers and big companies to just plug in and start building a business and not have to worry about all the nitty-gritty minutia around payments.
One of the great things is, I hear from a lot of my startups, is you give a certain amount of transactions for free when you start.
Yep, 50,000. First 50,000 is on us.
So there's no downside.
There's no downside. Just
so easy to put into.
A little bit of time, a little bit of integration time, but yeah, it's worked well for us.
This is why people talk about startups are getting so easy to build, the prototypes, to get that first version 1.0 out there. The idea of building a commerce-based startup, when you and I started in the industry a decade, 2 decades ago, I mean, it took forever to get commerce going.
Yeah. I mean, I think companies even like Uber in the early days, didn't want to deal with sort of the aging banking infrastructure just to be able to accept payments on mobile. So there was room for like an operating system of payments, and that's what we wanted to build.
Yeah, and it's just a couple of lines of code. You pop it in, and boom, you're done.
That's right.
Now, I had forgotten, but PayPal didn't actually buy Venmo. Braintree bought Venmo.
That's right.
And you were at Braintree back in the day.
Yeah, I'd actually joined Braintree about a week after we acquired Venmo.
Explain to people what Venmo is, because if you're over the age of 30, you may not know. But if you're under the age of 30, if you're going to Coachella, you're using Venmo all the time.
I just turned 40 and all my 40-something friends actually use it, but that's probably because
they're starting to use
it. Venmo is really this idea that paying people was broken. And so, a couple of engineers at Penn a couple of years ago wanted to build a mobile-first way to pay your friends.
That's it.
And, someone forgot their wallet, couldn't pay for it, needed to borrow money.
I forgot my wallet.
Yeah, needed a socially inawkward, if that's a word, way to pay somebody back or ask for money. And
peer-to-peer, just shipping money to each other.
That's right. And so it was designed as a mobile-first peer-to-peer app with a social element to it as well.
Got it.
And it's taken off, as we all know.
It's really interesting. I think it's sort of got the trajectory of Snapchat, which is like these young people are using it like crazy, and then it goes to the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds. Right. Everybody else finds out about it and starts using it.
Right. And so, you'll meet people in their 50s, and it's the way that they fund their, slush account for their kids in college. It's the I still used to receive checks in the mail when I was in the early to mid-90s.
Check? You got to wait 2 days. Oh, maybe you got to FedEx it. Now you can just ship $20, $100.
That's right. So Venmo's become a verb in the payment space and really sort of a very strong millennial brand, whereas they find strong loyalty to Venmo as a brand much more so than their underlying bank, which you need to set up your Venmo account.
That's fascinating. Yep. And what's the social element in Venmo? I don't use it that often. So people try to send me money through Venmo. I got to get going on it.
So if I split something with you or I requested money, it shows up in my social feed and your social feed.
Got it.
Right. And so you would say, hey, Ankur paid Jason for pizza. And so it's a very, very nuanced thing, but people really seem to latch on to the fact that there's a social element to commerce.
Right.
It's really the first example of social commerce. It's a big buzzword these days, but...
Yeah. What do people mean by this social commerce thing? That's like a whole new category. What is that supposed to mean? Is that like Pinterest?
I think Pinterest is a great example. I think what people mean is that the old way of interacting with merchants on the web is changing, right? It used to be the case that I would do a search and I'd find a link on the web and I'd click on that link and go do business directly with a merchant. I think that's changing. I think like WeChat is a great example of what's possible.
Yeah.
If you look at WeChat in Asia, if you look at what Messenger is doing now, we power an Uber experience inside of Messenger, so you can be inside of Messenger and I can send you a link to a pizza joint that I want you to meet me at. You don't even have to download the Uber app. You can hail an Uber from within Messenger.
Crazy.
I think that's what people really want to experience when it comes to commerce. Is just it should be seamless.
Yeah. If you tell me about a movie or a comic book or an album, I can just get it.
That's right.
You have my settings, you know my address, you know my payment details. Just give me the damn thing.
We do the same thing with concert tickets. So we power Eventbrite and Ticketmaster inside of Facebook Messenger as well. So now you and I can talk about a concert and it's easy to get tickets. You're not leaving that experience. It
is amazing how Messenger and messaging has becoming the interface for so many different things, right? And we never really anticipated messages and messaging would be so big inside of enterprises, but everything's getting infected. Everybody wants to be in Slack rooms or HipChat rooms, and then now you're layering in commerce into those rooms.
That's right. I think the way we view it is we want to be the infrastructure for all those things, whether the buy button becomes the thing in social commerce or whether bots or sort of AI-driven chat becomes the next thing. We want to be the underlying infrastructure to power all those experiences.
That's really interesting. I never thought about a chatbot. And we should define what a chatbot is, but a chatbot who would interview me about what I want to purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Explain to people what these chatbots are and why you think there's something there.
Well, I think chatbots are really just taking the place of human interaction in many cases. And, there's a great app, which the name escapes me right now. Not Operator, but obviously Operator is a fantastic example.
Maybe?
There's one that's actually focused on interior design where I can upload pictures and I can let them know what kind of style I want. And they can basically guide me through actually buying furniture based on stuff that I send them.
I've been looking at that,
Yeah, and so very interesting experience, and I think it probably covers 80% of use cases for most users.
It really is interesting. There was a whole group of people who were thinking that there would be agents, 10 years ago, that would be just, kind of like on the phone with you, but they would chat with you.
Yeah.
Now we have AI, so it's like, hey, I want to order some coffee, and then having an AI say, well, do you like it bitter, or do you like it dark, or what, and do you like, what kind of machine do you have? And just walking you through that process is actually going to be delightful to get you through this selection process. The tyranny of choice is so overwhelming in commerce.
We've been working with an interior designer, my wife and I, and it's been a very painful process. So I can imagine things like this are going to be useful for consumers.
It's interesting you say that. I just bought a house and we've been looking at how do we furnish it, and people have been referring me to these services online. Where you can very simply give them they take you to a style quiz and then you give them whatever, and then they want you to do the commerce right there. So hey, here is the couch from 3 different places. Very similar couch, high end, medium end, low end.
Yep.
Pick how much you want to spend.
Yep. I think that's the future. I think without that, it's a very serialized, slow process. And I think like our tech brains can't really get around the manual side of it.
Hey, tell us, what is this contextual commerce stuff you've been talking about? I have a video here. Maybe we can play it a little bit.
Yeah,
Should we
sure.
talk over the video or just play it?
Let's play it, and I can maybe do a little voiceover.
Here we go. It's coming up.
So really what PayPal, this is a product we have called PayPal Commerce. The idea is merchants need to connect with channels and consumers in contexts that they don't currently today and don't really understand. And so that's what the idea behind PayPal Commerce is let's give merchants the tools to connect with channels where they don't currently do business, right? As not everyone's going to come to their website or their mobile app. We need to, empower merchants to be able to sell inside of a chat session or a social feed.
I like that. Sell where you're seen.
That's
so
right.
People are already seeing you in different places, and you're just moving that commerce experience
exactly
out to the last mile.
The majority of engagement is happening in social messaging and entertainment apps, and those platforms have an incredible amount of data about consumers. It would be ridiculous if they didn't have the opportunity to monetize that with commerce, right? And so all these big platforms like Facebook and Pinterest and others, they get to fundamentally change their relationship with advertisers if they can drive purchase behavior.
Tell me about this. I know Venmo, a lot of people like to pay and split the bill and stuff like that. It's very popular amongst millennials and parents sending stuff. But you're also getting merchants involved. Here's a video we'll play.
Yeah.
But you're going to bring Venmo to merchants.
That's exactly what we've done. So we launched a product called Pay with Venmo a couple of months ago. And here's one of our merchants here, delivery.com. And so in addition to being this very strong millennial brand and this way for us to split bills and pay each other, now merchants want to accept Venmo because it helps them plug into a consumer segment that is, arguably the most valuable, right? So you see here someone paying with Venmo. After they go in the social feed, and they can feed and they can split it with their friends.
So genius.
And that's it. And
they can do a little emoticon there, do some emojis.
That's right. This is the only payment option where merchants actually get a bunch of exposure after the transaction.
This is so genius.
Right.
See, this is like there's a certain period in your life where splitting the bill is the default.
Yeah.
Then you get to a certain age
where you cover the bill.
And everybody's fighting over the bill.
That's right.
And I got to tell you, like my wife, if I don't get the bill.
Yeah.
And I could be out with a billionaire. These guys are like, some of my friends, like they're doing okay. She will yell at me for an hour. You have to get the bill.
Yeah.
She's Korean.
Okay.
And in Korean culture, it has to be an all-out brawl for the bill.
Yeah.
So when I take her dad out, I have to, like my brother-in-law and I have to fight over the bill.
Fight people off.
We have to fight over the bill. So what we started doing was my brother-in-law and I would start telling the waiter, hey, let me pay for it. And he would go, let me pay for it. And then we decided we would put up this big fight. And then we would put both our cards in and play card roulette. But it is like an interesting thing amongst young people that they always want to split the bill. And they put all the expenses for going to Coachella or vacation or the wedding or whatever trip they're going on or whatever dinner. Or
it's a very natural use case.
Very nice. That's so interesting to integrate it into the process.
That's right.
So, hey, we're all going to go to the Warriors game. We're going to split the Uber bill. We're going to split this. We're going to split that.
And for the merchant to have the exposure in the social feed after the transaction where, there's an opportunity for them to drive more affiliate, purchasing and things like that is pretty interesting.
Well, that's brilliant because now they know, hey, this person has 10,000 followers. This person has 3,000 friends. Here's the basic profile information of that individual so they could either retarget them or upsell them or just have some insight for the first time into their customers.
There's a whole host of opportunity for additional interaction between consumers and merchants inside of the social feed. We haven't even scratched the surface on that yet.
Fascinating. Now, what's this? I was reading about this PayPal Visa deal. What's going on there? Now, it's PayPal. It became an independent company. It's not part of eBay
That's
anymore.
Right. Independent public company.
Independent public. Spun it out.
Yep. That's right.
Still have a big relationship with eBay.
Yeah,
obviously,
of
it powers a lot of what eBay does. eBay's doing really well.
Yep.
But now you're independent. How does that impact on working at the company?
Well, I think it just helps us move a lot faster, right? And I think the path that we've been on the last couple of years, as long as sort of the Braintree team has been there, is that PayPal has been transitioning from being a button on a website to infrastructure, right? And so being infrastructure means being open to the ecosystem. And so we've partnered with Apple and Google, and we feature their wallets alongside ours inside of the Braintree SDK. And so part of this Visa deal is really just a natural progression of just being open to the ecosystem, right? And so what this lets us do is we get to work together to give consumers choice. we have a sort of a great relationship with Visa in that over time there's some economic incentives for PayPal as well as we drive more and more Visa volume.
Sure.
This allows PayPal to be a bigger sort of more interesting player in the in-store space as well. So at some point in the future, where you see a Visa contactless logo inside the store, you could potentially use PayPal as well. So this is just a natural progression of PayPal being an open platform, partnering with companies like Facebook and Pinterest and Apple and Google and Visa.
Yeah.
So it's a signal to the market that we're opening up and we're willing to partner with everyone and we're willing to do the right things for merchants and consumers.
This is what I tell everybody. It's like if you go with somebody who's the leader in the space, and obviously Braintree is the leader, you guys are doing all the hard work. And what people also don't know is you sign all these NDAs with all these companies. So you know what they're planning on next year and the year after. You know their roadmap. And you're working with them quietly. So when Apple payments come out or, Google Wallet gets enhanced or Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever that is, the next currency, you're always ahead of the curve and you drop it at the same time the new thing comes out.
That's exactly right. I mean, you as a merchant, whether we talked about Bento and we've talked about merchants as large as Uber, but whatever size you are, you shouldn't have to really start to guess which wallet is going to be more strategic to you. You should just accept all the ones that matter.
Any of those wallets breaking out, like it seems to me like I very rarely see anybody do Apple Pay, Google Wallet. Those things just, are they?
I think in different contexts. It's still the first or second inning, I would say. It's very early. But I think, we're very sort of positive on our own wallets. I mean, Venmo has just become such an incredible brand in its own right. PayPal is, nearly 190 million active accounts worldwide and growing. So, we feel pretty good about what we have in the space. And I think it's just a matter of time where the others will sort of find their niche as well.
Anything else coming up that's interesting for you? You invest in startups sometimes too, right? Like
a little bit here and there, yeah.
Here and there, you advise or invest.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of smart of them to let you do that.
LP in one of the bigger funds, but so I let the smart, I let the smart guys do the investing, and I just get to write a check.
I'm an LP in a couple of venture firms.
Yes, nothing like Jason level, but
It's okay. Yeah. You know what the thing about Jason level is? It's like this is the thing about startups and angel investing. You never know. And I was talking to my parents today who are in town, and they're like, how is it that you knew, Travis from Uber, Elon from SpaceX? I was like, I didn't invest in Twitter and Zynga.
Yeah.
Like, I had to learn hard lessons that as an investor, I don't know what ideas are going to work. I just know that the founders are going to do hard work.
You trust people. You're investing in people.
That's
ultimately.
It.
Yeah.
That's it. And I mean, and it's when you're starting your startup, you're investing in a platform. You want to make sure you have the best platform. One of the great things about my podcast, we only pick the best people to be partners. It's been great having Braintree as a partner.
Really appreciate that. It's always great to be here.
You guys do a great job, and I could, it's very easy for me to tell everybody, listen, it's like me telling everybody to drive a Tesla.
Yeah.
Or take an Uber, or get the iPad Pro. It's like I'm telling you to use the best thing.
Yep.
It's kind of silly, like use the best thing. It should be obvious to everybody, but Braintree is the best thing. Everybody knows it. All the startups use it, and you can't go wrong.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah. No. Listen. One of the things I always have startups are like, should I build this infrastructure or not? And now we're finally hitting this tipping point where they're like, they just know like. Yes, I should use a cloud service. Yes, if I'm going to do telephony, there's a service for that, Twilio. And they just take all these little pieces and they put them together, and man, they start on third base.
So fast.
I mean, I have people. There were startups that took. I was talking to somebody about Twitter, and I was like, "How long do you think it would take for somebody to build Twitter?" And they said it could be done as an open source project in weeks.
Wow.
Now, weeks. Like I was talking about 1.0 of Twitter. They said, and they were talking about Twitter now. I said, what about 1.0 Twitter? Like the first, they said that could be done in like 2 days now.
Amazing.
Because you just think about like all the database challenges they had.
Yeah.
Once the database challenge gets solved.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And then when it all gets solved, you solve it once, everybody gets the benefit.
That's right.
So when you guys put in all the different payment services, are anybody paying with Bitcoin yet? That was supposed to be the big thing, that people were supposed to pay Bitcoin when they went for the coffee.
We offer Bitcoin. You can integrate Braintree and you can pay with Coinbase, the Coinbase wallet. I think we're seeing some activity.
Some activity.
Yeah, I think blockchain will be interesting over time.
Why?
All the different applications. I think just as a set of rails, right, to do things that may involve payments or may involve other things, right? So
record keeping.
Yeah,
permanent record contracts.
There's a lot to this sort of distributed ledger system is an interesting concept.
All right, listen, Encore Aria. He is on the social. You can follow at Braintree, obviously. Go ahead and thank Braintree for sponsoring Independent Media like This Week in Startups. But it's AUNKURARYA. AUNKURARYA. We got to get you just like ANH on there, AHN on there or something. We get you something short.
Something
Twitter
short,
handle. Listen, great to have you
Thanks,
back
man.
on. And, great job with the product. I mean, it's nice to be at a company that actually produces more
fun.
product.
We're having fun. We're working like a startup, so it's awesome.
A lot of job openings there too, I hear. You guys are hiring like crazy.
Venmo, Braintree, yeah.
Everything.
Send them our way, yeah.
There you go. Okay.